Welcome to Figure Feedback. My name is Jeremy, and today I'm going to be opening up this Toolhead for the Flashforge Creator 5 so you can take a look inside and get a better idea of what it is you'll have to do in order to change the filament cutter blade, for example, or if you have some filament, like some flexible filament that happens to get kind of gummed up in here, what you can do to try to alleviate that and what I've learned along the way. All right, so this is not going to be a fancy video, but I hope that it's informative to you. Now, first things first, let's say that you want to change out the nozzle on this printer. Unlike the Adventurer 5M or the 5M Pro or even the 85X, it's not like a quick swap kind of deal. So there's a little bit of effort involved, not a whole lot. You see these two screws right here? These two silver screws you are going to have to take out in order to change the nozzle. All right, so you can just grab whatever tool that you want to use. You can use the Allen wrenches that came with the printer or, whatever else that you might have lying around. And you just take these out. Now, if you've got like one of those electric hex wrenches or whatever, I mean, you'll be done with this a lot faster than I am. Now, at this point, I'm assuming that you already know how to take the tool head off of the printer, but in case you don't know, you have that black USB-C cable that you inserted into the tool head as you were assembling the printer. So you just have to take those two silver screws out so you can remove the cable, and then you just remove the PTFE tube from the tool head, and then the whole thing will just come free. So it's only two screws necessary. So now that you got those two screws out, all you have to do at this point is just grab it by the silicone sock here and just pull it down. That's it. You just pull it down just like that, and then it comes out. You swap to another nozzle. If you can kind of see on the inside of this, just a little bit, it's kind of dark in there, but there's these metal pins that's on the inside. And those metal pins will basically let you know which direction you're going to be turning the nozzle. So for example, the metal pins are facing like over here to the right. So I would just have to make sure that these connectors right here are also facing to the right so that they can line up, and then you just stick it right back up the hole just like that. And now it's in there. You just put the screws right back in there to tighten it, or you can just pull it out just like that. All right, so it's a pretty simple process to put it back on. Goes in, you can hear a nice satisfying click. Pull the whole thing down with a little bit of force. I just shook the camera to take everything out. All right, so that's how you can swap the nozzle. So what about if you want to get into this part here? Well, you got to take your Allen wrenches again, and you have some screws you need to take out. There's going to be 4 screws. There's one right here. There's one right here. There's one right here. And there is one on the side. You got to take that out too. So I'm going to take out all those screws, and then we'll move on. So I got all 4 of those black screws out, and when you do that, you can just take this apart just like that. Now you can see that you do have this connector here with these wires. You can take this out if you need to, just so that you can, have both parts separate. But I've always left it in. I don't feel a need to take it out, but you can take it out if you want. You can see that here's the fan that's located right there. You can see like this is where the fan is plugged in here. But here's some other parts. This right here is the filament cutter. You see that? Now, if you would ever need to change the blade on this filament cutter, then you've got this long screw that's right here. And you just simply undo this, and that will have this part just come off. And then this spring right here can come off too. All right, so I will just take this apart, and it doesn't take a whole lot to free up this long screw. I mean, it's long, but it doesn't have very long threads. I mean, I think right there will probably do it, because you can just keep turning this indefinitely and it will not come out. So, just do it a little bit and then you can see it just kind of starts to come apart. I might have to do it a little bit more. Oh, no, I don't. So here we go. This right here, that's the filament cutting arm. This is the spring to give you that tension to cut the filament. And then this black piece right here that's flopping around, this is the blade that's used to cut the filament. This blade part can come off. You can probably see, it's just kind of sandwiched right there in between these two openings. So you can just easily take this off and put another one in here in this housing. And that's all you have to do to change the filament cutter. You see that you got some gears right here, and the spring goes on this raised circular part here. So you can just put that on. It's not going to like click in or anything like that. It's just going to be held together with gravity as you put the filament cutter arm back on, which I'll do that in a second. But here's something else that's very important that I want you to see. And this is if you were to have a problem with flexible filament. An issue that I was printing with PEBA, and when I was done printing with the PEBA, I went to cut the filament with the filament cutter, but the filament cutter was not cutting through the PEBA. It was 90A. And when that happened, what I ended up doing was taking the PTFE tube off, and I cut the PEBA manually with just a pair of flush cutters. But I was not able to pass any more filament into the tool head. It was just kind of stuck in there. And when I would try to put new filament in, it would always get caught up. It wouldn't go down far enough to go into the nozzle so that it can be extruded. And the problem is the PEBA was being caught right in these gears. There's like some gears right here, and it was this ground up looking piece right here that was just kind of stuck in there. It was wedged in there. And every time I would squeeze the filament cutter, it would not be able to get through that PEBA. And it was just an obstruction. It was blocking it. So if you have an issue with your filament not being able, your new filament not being able to be fed into the tool head, because on this printer, you're supposed to squeeze the tool head a little bit, stick your new filament down, let it go, and it's supposed to hold that filament tightly. But if you find that that filament just isn't being held and the filament cutter arm keeps slipping, then one thing that you can do is take this tool head apart, take the filament cutter arm off, and then you'll be able to see is there something in there that's just stuck and it needs to be taken out. That's what I did, and fortunately it all worked out just fine. All right, so let's put this back together. We'll put the filament arm back on. And for that, we've got this here. See this blade? See, the blade comes off like really easily. So this is the easy way to do it. If you flip the arm around so that you're on the opposite side of where the gears are, you see that it's a much larger opening right here. You can just slide this in just like that right there. Oh, you can just slide that in. And now it's in place. It's more difficult if you try to do it on this side because there's just not enough room. So just turn it this way, and therefore it'll just be a lot easier for you to put back on. Now there is a spot on here, which is right here. There's like a little opening like right there that you can slip this into. So you slip this in just like that, and it's still going to be dangling around, but then you just have to make sure that this hole right here is going to be lined up with this hole right there. That's where you're going to insert this longer screw. But before we get there, we have to put the spring back on. So here's the spring. And remember what I said, you got to put the spring right here. And then you can just simply close it just like that. Everything is going to be loose. That's the way it's supposed to be until you can put in this longer screw. So I'm just going to look to make sure that I am lined up. Then I grab this Allen wrench here, stick it down in there and turn. It's not going to take very many turns for this to start to get tight. I can feel it tightening up right now. We're almost there. And there. It's nice and tight now. So you see that you now have tension when you squeeze the filament cutter. And there's the blade right there. Your filament's going to go down in here, squeeze that, and you're going to cut that. And then, you know, you're off to the races. You're going to be all good. Let's put the nozzle back on as well, so you can see it from this angle. So you see there's the opening for the nozzle. You see that those connection ports are right there on the left side. So we're going to make sure that we are also on that left side. And then we're just going to stick that back up in there just like that. Make sure the silicone sock is seated properly. And then we will combine everything back together. All right, there we go. Sure, everything is lined up just like that. And at this point, all we have to do is just put all of the screws back in. And, you know, no real particular order, but, you know, these are the 2 screws that's used for the nozzle. So you just pop those back in. I'm not gonna, you know, do all that on camera, just letting you know. But remember, 2 longer silver screws for the nozzle goes right here. And you have the 4 black screws that are smaller, these little ones, that goes here, that goes here, that goes here, and then 1 more on the side. Don't forget the one on the side. And then after you do that, you can just pop it right back onto the printer. So for, you know, things like that can come up, like if you have some filament that's jammed in there, or if you use the printer for a long period of time and you just want to get in there and just clean out any debris that might be on the gears or whatever, you know, just to ensure that things continue to work smoothly, that's what you have to do. And as you can see, it's not difficult to do any of those things. Just make sure that you are in a place where you are least likely to lose little screws on the floor and never be able to find them again. All right, so that's going to do it for now. I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I'll be back with some more videos about this printer in the very near future. So until then, take care of yourselves. I'll speak to you soon.